Hello all, and welcome to tonight's review, a very special review, both for me and for you. Why is this special review? Because it is the final review that I will be doing for a while, not permanently, unless my doctor tells me permanently, which is highly unlikely. But I decided to go and give myself, a nice month-long liver break, as well as a sort of belated Lent, where I give up alcohol for the month of April. Which all that entails. It's going to be the longest I haven't drunk in years. Probably a decade. Well, probably a decade. More than a decade, actually. So what are we reviewing tonight? Well, it's a special review. Why? Because I went and sprung for something local. This is Fid Street Hawaiian Gin, 90 proof, as you can see here. This one is from Hali'imaile Distilling Company of Makawao, Maui. So, what is gin? Well, you probably all know what gin is. A lot of people don't drink gin straight. They did a survey of people who drink liquors, and it turns out gin is the preferred straight drink of the least amount of people out of the 8 main liquors, and that's of only 4.5 straight liquor drinkers. And why is that? Well, gin kind of has a strong flavor and a bad reputation. So what is gin? Gin is basically a neutral spirit, which is why it's clear, which has been infused with botanicals. The main ingredient is usually juniper berry, and then redistilled. Now, a lot of craft brewers, one of the first things they explore is gin, because unlike vodka, vodka is fairly easy to, vodka is the first one that you usually do because that's just pure distilled liquor. It's all about, just finding the hearts of the liquor while it's distilling and just, starting point and, triple distilling, starting point, end point, there you go. Gin is the next one. You don't have aging, but you do have to go and create a flavor profile, which means juniper berry, and every distiller has, their own preferred recipe of herbal botanicals that they use to create gin. And in this case, it is juniper, coriander, fennel, cardamom, grains of paradise, lavender, orris, whatever orris is, I've never actually heard of that one before, lemon, orange, cedar leaf, and angelica. So why don't I read the rest of the label while I'm here? In the 18th century, the arrival of English ships in Honolulu Harbor led to a strong Victorian influence. Named after a sailor's word for drink, Fid Street, now known as Lower Nu'uanu Avenue in Honolulu, became the place where the thirsty and seaweary reveled. And boy did they. When I worked in archaeology, when they went and dug around that area, basically you would just find you go about 6 feet down, you just go and find 6 feet of bottles, broken bottles, intact bottles from people, they didn't have garbage dumps down there back then, so they dug a hole and they just dumped their bottles in. One of the ways you go and date things from that historical period was by looking at how the bottles were made, and I actually learned how to do that, and learning how to date bottles is actually kind of a fun thing, and you kind of find that it's very rare to actually find a bottle from before the 1840s, 1830s, basically the old hand-blown, pure hand-blown kind, no seams, no industrialized aspect to it. So, gin is mostly known for being something that you usually mix, including probably the world's most famous cocktail, the martini. I'm going to be reviewing it straight. Why? Because this is a craft gin. It's something that's been handcrafted so that people can drink it straight. Being that I don't really do cocktails, I don't want to go and ruin this by making a bad cocktail because I don't know how to make a good, I don't have the equipment to make a good cocktail. I decided to kind of go halfway and, just sort of put a shot of gin with a cube of ice in it, and it's a little cloudy because the just air bubbles inside my ice, and the water quality here is a little bit horrible. And of course, we have it straight as well. So, let's get started, shall we? Now, gin is strong smelling. From here, I can smell, it. And, the immediate smell is, of course, juniper, which is usually, the backbone of the rest of the botanicals. You smell floral aspects and citrus aspects. It just smells nice. It smells very nice. You can't get too close because then it just starts overwhelming. You feel like it starts overwhelming your nose, your sense of smell. But it smells very pleasant, very aromatic, very floral, very herbal. I can't really suss out everything, but, different things. And what's interesting, here we have it slightly chilled with the ice. Smells a lot more muted with the ice. But very different. It takes on almost sort of minty, it's the citrus and the juniper. The citrus is much lowered, and the juniper kind of stays there, and more minty, menthe, pine needle aspects. It's probably a little bit too cold right now. I probably should have just pulled the ice out after it chilled it a little bit. But let's get to this, shall we? Actually, I'm going to start with the chilled one first. Chilled, immediately get almost a nice orangey, kind of orange peel sort of flavor. Then herbal bitters, kind of mintiness, too, into the finish. Juniper kind of is a little bit minty to me. Hints of lemon, spice, especially in the finish there's like a lingering spice on the tip of the tongue and the back of the tongue. Nice warmth to it as well. All in all, a nice herbal bitterness to it, which is probably why a lot of people don't drink it straight. I can drink this straight because I've kind of come to like bitter flavors. I drink black coffee and I drink IPAs. I can drink, I can handle something where the main flavor tone on my tongue is bitterness, and sort of suss out all these wonderful, more aromatic notes that hit, your nasal cavities from your tongue. Let's go to it straight. Kind of hot straight, which is why I went and drank it iced first, mainly because it is a bit hot, and even water, it takes a lot of water to go and chill it down, which is why I don't have a cup of water here. I needed to go kind of, I practiced this a little bit, which is why you notice this bottle is already a little bit down, and that's because I went and practiced a little bit on this. And I realized that there's no amount of water that's going to kind of repair my taste buds and nose buds in just a few seconds it takes to clear the palate there. Very intense flavors. Oddly enough, a lot less bitterness. It's mixed in with a sort of citrus lemony bite there. And then all these wonderful floral and herbal bitternesses. Bitterness is a lot less omnipresent, but you sort of lose that sort of mintiness. You lose the more delicate nuances of it straight, because it just, it nukes your tongue. And this is a little bit on the hot side as opposed to the warming side, but it's still drinkable. And really, gin is probably one of the hardest things to drink straight, but this is still drinkable. You still get those nice sort of piney, minty notes. After it clears the palate, it lingers on there. It just doesn't have that nice aromatic feel that this style does with the ice. And what's really interesting about it is that the ice sort of, heightens the bitterness of it, which is, you would think it would be the other way around. But this would be unbearably bitter, but this, diluted, and the ice cube is pretty much half gone by now. It is, much more bitter on the tongue. And I think that's because a lot of the other flavor aspects have sort of, been diluted away, the intensity on the tongue. And it kind of leads to a hard decision. Do you want the more delicate herbal nuances, those herbal floral nuances hitting here, or do you want the palate balm that this does on your tongue? And what I would say is, you can drink it straight, but like all gins, it really calls for a good cocktail. And why is that? Because see how different it is, just straight and with ice. This is something where what you add to it, whether it be sweetness, whether it be, carbonated water or a juice, or fruit juice. I'm going to be making a shrub cocktail with this later, but I didn't want to go and review a cocktail made with a shrub. That's part of the reason why I picked up the shrub earlier. Is that with something that is botanical, made with a lot of botanicals, how you mix it, how you treat it, can really change how it expresses itself. And it is, a very different drink, straight versus iced down here. Now, I probably wouldn't just have it iced like this, diluted, because bitterness kind of goes up, like I said. Probably have it with something, tonic water, juicing club soda, something like that. But say I was having a more intense kind of cocktail, something where it's not really being diluted, be a very interesting thing, vermouth and just a tad bit of ice to chill it down. Like with the martini where you pull the ice out before it melts all the way. This one, the ice melted too much, creating sort of unpleasant bitterness. But, you just add a little bit of ice to bring it down just a little bit, mix it with some vermouth, and, just a hair's worth of vermouth. The good martini cocktail, you just put in a wee bit of vermouth, about, 1/10 vermouth to 9 parts gin, and, you get something really sublime going on there. When it's stirred or shaken, depending on how you have it. If it's stirred, a little bit less water dissolves into it. If it's shaken, more water dissolves into it, but is also colder. Depends on your level of taste there. And that is, it's pretty much gin for you. And, people tend not to think about gin too much. You don't see very many gin reviews on YouTube, which is why I'm kind of going into the generalities here, because I'm kind of upping gin right now, because, it deserves to be upped. Good top shelf gin is something that you can get very high quality for a very reasonable price. This was only $35. The Botanist, which is Scottish gin, which is pretty much top of the line gin, is only $40. You can really, really explore high quality, well crafted stuff for a very budget price when it comes to gin. Now, Fid Street Hawaiian Gin, pretty much the first Hawaiian gin to probably be made in well over 100 years or so. Probably the best Hawaiian gin ever, because most Hawaiian gins beforehand were probably rot gut. You know, great entry. Sorry, it's hitting my head already. Great entry from a local craft brewer, a local craft distiller. Looking forward to reviewing more local alcohols, especially since I'm going to be trying to rejigger my reviews. So I'm focusing a little bit more on local things and high-end things, and trying to go for quality over quantity. As you kind of notice, I kind of spam out reviews of a lot of things that aren't really quality. I'd like to go and save my liver and save myself, save my palate for things that, you know, focusing on things that are made in Hawaii and things that are high quality. So, that's your gin review for tonight, folks. I don't think you'll find this outside of Hawaii yet, but if you're in Hawaii, try it with a tropical martini or, you know, another very local cocktail. I'm sure some of the mixologists, oh god, I hate the term mixologists and cocktail artists. Bartender. You're a bartender, okay? You're a bartender. Okay? You're a bartender. You're not a mixologist. You're not a cocktail artist. You're a bartender, okay? I'm not denigrating your art, but you don't have to go and make a fancy title for yourself to show off that you have skill. There's plenty of people who've been working for years, you know, who've gotten skills. And sorry, I'm digressing because I'm a little bit buzzed right now. But go out and get it if you can, if you're in Hawaii. That's your gin review for tonight, folks. And departing with you on Gin Lane, my last review for Gin Lane for a good month or so. Cheers to William Hogarth, and cheers to you if you know what I'm ripping off of right now. That's your gin review for tonight, folks. Cheers.